Two cars pull into the same parking garage. One is a Porsche, gleaming, new, impossible to ignore. The other is a Honda, clean but quiet, the kind of car you forget the moment you look away. You don't need any other information. Your brain has already made a decision. You assume the Porsche belongs to the wealthier person. Of course you do. We all do. But what if that assumption is exactly backwards? Here's a question most people never think to ask. Not how much does someone earn, but how long could they survive if the money stopped? Not what do they own, but what do they owe? Not how impressive does their life look, but how free are they right now today to simply walk away? That is a completely different question, and it leads to a completely different answer about who is actually rich. Think about person A, $400,000 a year, a Porsche in the driveway, a house in the right neighborhood. Every Friday, the paycheck lands, and every Friday, it's already gone. The mortgage, the lease, the private school tuition, the credit card that never quite hits zero. Person A needs every single dollar. Miss one paycheck, and the whole thing starts to wobble. The income is extraordinary. The freedom is zero. Now think about person B, a Honda, an ordinary salary, nothing that turns heads. But person B saves more than they spend. Every month, quietly, the number in their account grows. And one morning, maybe this morning, person B wakes up and realizes something. They don't have to go to work today. Not because they're sick, not because it's a holiday, because they could stop. They have enough runway to choose. Who is richer? Your gut says person A. The culture says person A. But the honest answer, the one that actually changes how you live, is person B. We have the definition of wealth wrong, almost all of us, and it is costing us something we cannot get back. Wealth is not a number on a paycheck. It is not a car. It is not a square footage. Wealth is time. Specifically, it is the amount of time you could keep living your life if you stopped working tomorrow. That's it. Everything else is just furniture. There is a term for this inside financial independence circles. Your runway. How many days, months, years could you survive on what you've already built? Most people have never calculated it. Most people are afraid to. Here is something that will stay with you. 2 out of every 3 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. Not people in poverty, people with jobs, people with incomes, people who look completely fine from the outside. The machine keeps running, and nothing accumulates. What makes that number genuinely unsettling is who it includes. 36% of people earning over $100,000 a year, people who crossed the threshold we were all told would feel like safety, still can't miss a paycheck without something breaking. The salary changed. The feeling didn't. There is even a name for this cohort. High earners, not rich yet, sometimes called Henrys. People pulling in $250,000, $300,000, even $400,000 a year who have surprisingly little actual net worth. Not because they're unlucky, because the lifestyle expanded to fill every dollar before the dollar had a chance to become wealth. This is what lifestyle inflation actually does to you. It's not just that you spend more as you earn more. That part feels natural, even deserved. It's that each upgrade quietly raises your floor. The apartment becomes the house. The house becomes the house in the better neighborhood. And suddenly, the number you need just to stay still keeps growing. The treadmill doesn't feel like a treadmill. It feels like progress. And the most insidious part? Nobody around you questions it, because everyone around you is doing the same thing. Here's what the data quietly reveals about actual millionaires. Not the ones in the movies, but the real ones who built wealth from nothing. 80% of American millionaires are first-generation wealthy. They did not inherit it. And the typical one drives a Toyota, a Ford, or a Honda. Not because they can't afford something else, because at some point they decided the car was not the point. That decision, held consistently across years, is the quiet engine of actual wealth. The average new car in America now costs around $48,000. The average millionaire spends far less. That gap, multiplied across every category of spending, sustained across years, is not deprivation. It is a different set of priorities, held consistently. Morgan Housel, one of the clearest thinkers alive on how money actually works, puts it this way. The only true measure of wealth is options. The ability to say no to a job you hate, to a client who disrespects you, to an obligation that no longer fits who you are. That freedom is invisible from the outside. You cannot park it in a driveway, but it is the only freedom that actually belongs to you. Let's make this concrete. Two people, same income. The first saves 10%, responsible, respectable, exactly what most financial advice tells you to do. At that rate, they'll need approximately 43 years to reach financial independence. 43 years of needing every paycheck. The second person saves 50%, not by earning more, just by wanting less of the visible stuff. At that rate, financial independence arrives in roughly 17 years. Same income, completely different life. The gap between 43 years and 17 years is not income. It is not luck. It is the savings rate, the percentage of what you earn that you convert from present consumption into future freedom. That one number, held consistently, rewrites the entire timeline of your life. Here's the part that quietly breaks people when they finally see it. The median net worth of Americans between 45 and 54 years old, their peak earning years, the years when everything was supposed to be adding up, is approximately $168,000 after 2 decades of working. That is not a condemnation. It is a mirror. And what it reflects is a system that was very good at turning income into spending, but very bad at turning spending into independence. The question worth sitting with is, what were those years actually building? Because they were building something. Every year of high earning and full spending built a lifestyle, a set of expectations, a floor that kept rising, and a deep, quiet anxiety that most people don't name, but almost everyone carries. The fear that if the checks stopped, everything would unravel. That fear is the shadow side of the Porsche, the thing nobody talks about at the dinner party, the thing person A lives with every single week. Person B doesn't have that fear, not because their life is smaller, but because they made a different trade. They traded the visible markers of success for the invisible ones, and the invisible ones compound. This is the hardest part to explain because it runs directly against everything the culture rewards. When you buy the Porsche, people see it. There is a real, immediate social return on that decision. When you don't buy the Porsche and put the money somewhere, it grows quietly. Nobody sees that. Nobody congratulates you. But you know what else nobody sees? The morning you wake up and you genuinely do not have to go. The meeting you decline because it no longer fits who you are becoming. The opportunity you can say yes to. The one that pays less but matters more. Because you built enough runway. That is the freedom nobody can see. It doesn't show. It doesn't photograph well, but it is the only thing in the end that is actually yours. So, let's come back to the parking garage. The Porsche and the Honda. Same building, same morning, two completely different internal realities. The person in the Porsche might be free. That's possible. But the car itself tells you nothing. What tells you something is the question you now know to ask. How long could they last? Wealth is not what you drive. Wealth is what you don't have to do. And the person who can walk away, quietly, without drama, on a Tuesday morning in a Honda is carrying something that no lease payment can buy you. It doesn't show, but it is the only thing, in the end, that is actually yours.